Leadership quote. I always live by one quote, one life to live.
What do you like about that? Yeah.
Live it the way you want it, and just the main thing behind that is be good to yourself, be good to others, and do good deeds.
Welcome to the Build It to Millions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on the journey from millions to billions. We believe that the key to scaling your business and compounding your wealth starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal, to help you scale and compound your wealth in life so you can give more or all of it away to help MVPs. I'm your host today, Brett Swartz. In every episode, we feature some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires. They share their principles, values, secrets, and wisdom, providing each of us with the insights we need to reach the next level of faith, success, and impact. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of California, and he's the president and CEO of Wimbley's Inc., and he's provided concierge boutique real estate services to the Calabasas area since 2005 and other areas surrounding that. And he has over 18 plus years of experience in the industry. And he has a proven track record of closing over $500 million in residential and commercial transactions and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. Kamyar Rezaie. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If our listeners get to know you for the first time, would you give us just a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure. So, yep, I started in a residential real estate back in 2004. Went all the way to 2008. Hit the economical crisis. During the economical crisis, I was introduced to a lot of gentlemen with different families with a lot of shopping centers and commercial properties, and they told me it'd be a great focus for me to transition to the commercial space. So between 2009 and 11, I started focusing mainly on commercial properties and lending. And thus, I've continued to do so. I still do the residential side for my, referral clients and existing, but I typically focus on the commercial lending and commercial brokerage.
Okay, perfect. That's what we're going to be talking about right now, which is like kind of the state of the commercial, brokerage industry and lending industry. So let's dive right into that. So, what are you seeing right now in commercial real estate lending, and what are some of the trends given where we're at right now in the marketplace?
Yeah, a lot of the commercial investors are on the sidelines. Unless they have a 1031 exchange, which they need to, deploy the money. They're really waiting on sidelines to see what happens with the elections, see what happens with the rates, with the inflation. Majority of the buyers are owner-occupied buyers, typically getting SBA loans, trying to buy their own building versus leasing. Leasing has been, a lot difficult. The actual building owners who are leasing it out, they're increasing the leases. They sometimes just, they want the building back. They want to sell it. So it's a lot of business owners have come to the conclusion they really need to buy their own building, using the SBA loan with a 10% down.
Excellent. So it sounds like, things are kind of stalled out. People are waiting and seeing. However, if they're an owner or user, there's some good opportunity because they can get that SBA financing as well, perhaps even get a deal that's decently priced because some people are waiting. Is that a fair summary?
Sure, correct.
Okay, excellent. What interest rates, rate caps, what are you seeing, from 6 months ago to where we're recording this today in, September of 2024?
Well, in terms of the cap rates, they're definitely people. Buyers are getting better cap rates on the investment side. There's not as much buyers. People don't have much cash flow and reserves because of the prime being so high. At all-time highs. The cash flow. A lot of companies are at all-time lows. They need to make these payments on these credit lines, or when you owe 5 or 10 million a quarter, or even 1% makes a big difference in your monthly payment. So that's really hurting. But buyers have a much better advantage, of buying better properties in today's world. The only thing that's obviously hurting them is, the interest rate for the loan. So they're getting a shorter term fixed rates in hopes of the rates are going to decrease and they can refinance in the near future.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What else are you seeing in the marketplace right now that is kind of interesting, but most people aren't aware of?
A lot of the more wealthier people are deploying cash now versus, like, let's say 6 months or 9 months ago, they were on the sidelines, and they're buying certain properties, and they feel that they're in the next, couple of years, it's going to have a good run, but the general public is not buying, majority of the investors, the mom and pops, and the average.
Got it. So it sounds like, yeah, if you're the wealthier side, you're jumping in because it's a good time. But yeah, those that are lower or not, that makes sense. What are your thoughts on interest rates in general as it pertains to, the rate cuts that could be happening, or pulling back? Any kind of crystal ball with that?
We were hoping, right, that the Fed's going to cut the rate, by a quarter, maybe a half. Most likely, I'm thinking a quarter. In terms of the mortgage rates, which are tied to the 10-year bond, they have been coming down on a slowly. Should they come lower? They should, but it all depends. As we're going to the election, historically, rates do come down. This year's been very unique. It hasn't come down as what we've seen in the past, but slowly it is coming down. But my analysis is that it should come down, and inflation has is lower than what they intended to be. So we're nearing that 2 year mark where the rates for the prime will come down, the mortgage rates will come down, and to we got to spur the economy at one point. Right now we're at at a stagnant inflation of sort of.
Yeah, and if rates do come down, which product type within commercial, industrial, multifamily, mobile home park, office, retail, what do you think is going to most benefit from rates coming down?
I think the number one, in my opinion, would be the multifamily and industrial. Office still is not going to recover that quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Mobile home park, I think, as well. I think the key is be able to get leverage on deals. If rates go down, the DCRs can be a little healthier, and therefore you don't have to put as much of a down payment down. So there's kind of that ability to open up more transactions. Curious, if if rates do come down, do you expect? I mean, how quickly can we get back to a more normalized marketplace? Do you feel like it would take 3 months, 6 months, a year to still kind of flesh out what your take on that?
I would say about minimum 6 months to 1 year, but 9 months would make more sense. But it all depends. Even with rates coming down, is like how much capability does the consumer have to make that new purchase, to make those payments. If in general, if the income of everybody's going to be lower, or it's not going to be as much cash flow, even with the lower rates, it might not spur the economy as much as they want it to.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Let's shift a little bit to business brokerage, right? You're doing some business brokerage as well, and some
Sure.
commercial brokerage. You even
Right.
mentioned the 1031 exchange. So, when transactions happen, there can be a big tax liability. On a business side, 1031 no longer applies. So if a seller is selling, let's say, a $10 million business in California from where you're at, and has a zero basis, what have been some of the strategies that you help them to think through as a way to defer the capital gains tax?
Well, obviously, we've spoken to yourself, some clients, of what the programs you have available. But typically, I don't see, and I usually have their lawyers and CPAs, really help them and strategize and see what's the best outcome for them.
Absolutely. And if people are curious about learning about what we do, it's called a deferred sales trust. And it can be set up prior to the close of the business, real estate, Bitcoin, stock, and you can defer the tax in exchange for a promissory note. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. The challenge I found with the 1031 exchange, it seems like people who are really hurting right now, they overpaid in the marketplace in 2021, 2022, and now they're suffering the consequences of debt resetting, and now they're really hurting, right? And they're maybe losing all of it or a big portion of it. So that's the part where I think the 1031 exchange just is kind of broken, because unless the debt flow, cash flow, and tax flow line up, it can be all your eggs are in one basket, and that debt can sink you. So just talk about the relationship between debt and risk.
Honestly, like you hit it well. People who bought at the low cap rates right now, when they are coming to refinance, I mean, I don't see those people really doing a 1031 exchange. They're at a point where their loan's about to reset, either being a balloon or becoming variable. Hopefully, it's becoming a variable. It's going to be in their advantage. But if it's a balloon, a lot of these people have to come out of pocket to refinance. It could be as low as 500,000. I've seen as low as $8 million. They have to come out of pocket to get a new loan. The vacancies are different. The cash flow is not there anymore. So I mean, those people don't even have a choice of doing a 1031. It doesn't pencil. And
100%
then,
right, because they have to like double down and they can't even afford the debt, right?
correct.
They can't afford to sell that. In other words, they kind of have to try to plug the holes and sit out in the middle of the ocean until the seas are calm and they can cruise into the harbor. But that could take some time, and that's kind of
Right.
that's the downside of the 1031. I mean, I started in commercial brokerage at the Marcus and Millichap, helping people buy and sell multifamily properties, and I still have my broker's license in California. And we just saw too many people get hurt, and too many entrepreneurs get frustrated because they're just stuck in that deal, stuck in that market, stuck in that product type, and they want to be able to lend, or they want to be able to sit on the sidelines. They want to be able to start a business. They want to be able to diversify, but they feel like they can't because they're going to get crushed with that tax. So yeah, we definitely have found that it's a great way to get time and leverage back on your side using the deferred sales trust. I'm curious what are your thoughts on other investments, like a Bitcoin or a stock? I feel like it's a great time to sell some of those that are a little bit higher, and then buy real estate, right now. Are you what is kind of your personal take? Are you buying anything right now for your real estate portfolio?
Personally, I'm not buying anything on my real estate portfolio. I'm on the sidelines as well, just trying to see what happens with with the elections, with the inflation, with the prime rate and the 10-year bond. But in terms of people selling, their securities, either being crypto or regular securities, I don't get involved in that. I'm not licensed, but I am seeing a lot of that. People are trying to come out of that, take their gains and put it into real estate and park it. They're looking for more of the passive income.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm curious on your business, how you built and scaled it. What's maybe been a one or two or three kind of keys to scaling your business to the level it's at now?
Number one is customer service, referrals, and just being upfront and honest with them on a deal, even if it means that they're gonna, not like you up front, but long term they will.
Good, good, good. Anything else come to mind as far as what's helped you to scale so far?
It's made me honest. It's been majority of it has been the customer service. I'm always there for them. Any questions, even if they're not buying a building, I help them get it pre-approved. After they close a year or two, 5 years later, they can always call me with any questions, and I'm always there for them. Doesn't matter if it's the weekend or weeknight, 12 at night, or whenever. I'm always there for them, so they know they have somebody to lean to. Questions, because it's not their, their, what is it? They don't know too much knowledge, but there's some things might come up with some, trying to refinance something they need. I'm always there for them.
Yeah, so just being able to be count on, you can be there for them, and great,
Right.
great service. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you get on referrals, which is great.
Right.
What about like leadership, right? And so growth within like your team or those you're working with. What are some like leadership principles that you learned over the years?
No, I teach them to be like, again. It all comes down to honesty. When you putting them through the training, be honest with your clients. Don't try to hide any facts just to get the deal up front, just to make them money. It's better to tell the client everything up front. Because later on you don't want it to haunt you, or God forbid, becoming a lawsuit. In terms of leadership, it's just being out there farming, and networking. Everybody, all these, newspapers and everything are great. It's more about branding, but you have to be out there and networking. Let people know what are you doing, and how you can help.
Got it. Yeah. So understanding the difference between branding and which is can be passive, and then farming and networking sales, which is active, and then just having integrity, make sure you're disclosing and making everything up front. And I think really treating people the way that you'd want to be treated. Is that a fair summary?
Right. Absolutely.
How about any books you're reading right now? Is there anything that comes to mind that are like, hey, this is a powerful book that I'm really liking?
My recent one is investing in commercial real estate.
What's it about?
Just giving you the background and the major cap rates. Obviously I know about it, but I'd like to see other people's views, how they look at commercial real estate active, and what are their thoughts on it. Everybody has their own perspective, and I like to learn why other people do the way they do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's great. You continue to hone the craft and look at it from different people's angles. That's awesome. That being said, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes.
All right. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one gold nugget to make sure to tell yourself to do?
Be upfront. Be honest. Be upfront, and just provide best customer service as though you're doing it for yourself.
Awesome. Question number 2, what are you most curious about right now?
what's going to happen in the next 2 years? What's the outcome of the elections, and how is that going to affect the market?
Yeah, absolutely. Question number 3, maybe like a top quote, leadership quote that you like to quote or think about.
Um, Leadership quote. I always live by one quote: "One life to live."
What do you like about that? Yeah,
Live it the way you want it, and just the main thing behind that is, be good to yourself, be good to others, and do good deeds.
awesome. How about ChatGPT? How are you guys using it? Any kind of creative ways?
Honestly, we have a plugin. It's an AI PRM plugin that we use for the commercial stuff. It's mainly for, maybe returning emails or just writing a summary on a property for sale. Definitely a lot of new items coming that's going to influence the market on that.
Yeah, awesome. And really, last question is it's kind of the essence of what we're here at Build to Billions podcast, which is this is. Practicing stewardship over ownership, right? Knowing that we've been given certain gifts in this life to be a blessing, help to others. What would you say is your number one gift that you were given, and how do you practice on helping people with that gift?
It's customer service. Being there, helping them, holding their hands from A to Z if it's our first time, if it's repetitive, and just letting them know that we're here, we're trying to do the best for them as though it's for ourselves.
Absolutely. So really putting the client first and serving them at a really deep level, caring about them, thinking about them, making it as seamless as possible. Absolutely love it. Kamar, and make sure you pronounce your name correctly. Make sure you pronounce it for us real fast. Yeah.
Yes.
Kamyar, yeah, Kamyar.
Yes.
And Rezaie is how you pronounce it. I don't know how you
Yes.
pronounce it, Rezaie, and it's
Correct.
Kamyar for those that are listening and not watching on YouTube. But for our listeners who want to get in touch with you or find you, who are watching you, what's the best place for them to find you?
It's either on the website www.wembleysinc.com. They can call the office 818-703-9337, and I have a presence on all the social media.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to encourage you to keep using your amazing customer service and focus on the client's needs and anticipating to make it as seamless as possible for them. And also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Build to Billions podcast. Again, we're on a journey along with you to scale from millions to billions. The entrepreneur, the investor. We believe the key to scaling your business and compounding your wealth starts with every day with a mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and practicing and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more or all of it away. I'm Brett Swartz. I appreciate everyone listening and watching. Please rate, review, subscribe, and we'll talk to you all again real soon. Thanks so much.